Hi everyone, welcome to Before and After.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for joining us today. And who do we have with us today, Lili?
Well, we have John Yee. How are you, John?
Good. How about you, Bo? Thank you for having me here today. This is such an amazing setup and such an important topic, so we're really excited to dive in it with you all.
Well, we're here to get to know you today, and thank you for joining us on the show. So what was your life about before? And then we're going to go into after, but I am just really excited to get to know you, and so is Lori.
Yes, definitely. It's really nice to be on the show because my life was a lot different before my niece was killed. Our advocacy in saving lives for street racing kills is so important to me. So what brought you to being an advocate for LA walks?
Before I was doing a lot of work on safe street advocacy, my life essentially was a community organizer. That sort of has been the connective tissue amongst all of my work. And so before Los Angeles Walks, I was the advocacy director for the Lung Association. I was doing organizing around tobacco, anti-tobacco work. Before that, I was doing organizing work with schools, working with, particularly with parents in poor-performing schools. So community organizing has been always something that I've been enjoyed, really been interested in. And you know, for the audience, for community organizing, essentially just working with whoever community that be. It could be parents, it could be your neighbors, but working together to find some kind of outcome, some goal. So whether it's passing a law, you know, or organizing some kind of event. So those are the kind of things that I really enjoy doing. And what brought me to this work actually was that I remember I was in Koreatown, that's where I live, in Koreatown, Los Angeles. I got hit twice while biking.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, both times I got hit, you know, you don't really think about what it is and why you got hit. You think sort of that's your fault. You should have been more careful. But as I started doing more work on safe streets and started really thinking about and questioning infrastructure, you know, I realized so much of our community is designed for cars, for fast traffic, for wide lanes, you know, intersections that are huge. And these are the same factors that led to me being hit by a car while I was biking, but also the same factors I think that really contributes to street racing when you have large intersections. And so, yeah, I think it was that moment where it really clicked in my brain when I started working at Los Angeles Walks about how important infrastructure is, how important street design is, and I think more important, how important it is to build community power, to make sure we tell city governments, we tell our elected officials that our cities and our communities need to be designed better, more for pedestrians, more for people, not just for cars.
You said you got hit by a bike. What was your feeling at that moment when that happened to you?
Yeah, I remember to this day. I got hit, and then I remember getting back home, and the adrenaline was filled me so much that I forgot. I had no idea I was even bleeding. My entire leg was bleeding.
Wow.
I only realized that once I got home, and so yeah, it was this adrenaline rush, and you know, I can imagine what it must be like for someone who gets in a serious injury where they're sort of knocked out and they wake up in a hospital.
Yeah.
Or if people die or you lose a loved one, and so I just experienced just a sliver of what it is, what y'all have experienced in your own personal lives, and so it was a really traumatizing experience, but at the same time, really educational experience for me.
Have you met people throughout your journey, like us, other people that like have left a lasting impression and make you want to do the work that you do? So
I definitely have met, through this work, I've met fantastic people like yourselves, people who have been victims or family members of victims of traffic violence. And what's always been interesting to me is I think there's two kinds of advocates when it comes to safe streets. People like myself who do this work because we're paid to do it, because we're interested in doing it. Mm-hmm. And people like yourselves who are sort of brought to this work unto no decision of your own, but because you're sort of compelled to do this because you lose someone.
Yeah.
And for me, it's been just an amazing experience to see both groups, but especially people who are in this work because it's a love that brought them to it. And I think there is something so powerful about your stories, about your experiences, about your persona in this work. I think that is going to be a real factor for us to pushing our city and pushing our state to really fund better transportation, better streets, and safer streets.
Yeah, I think it amazes me that how some people come to it because, like you said, like something that happened to them, and then some people just like you, which I really admire that because this is not, thank God, you know, you're okay, nothing happened to you, you survived that crash that could have gone wrong, could have gone the other way, and then you're doing the work that you're doing. And I always have just higher respect for anybody that does that because sometimes it's until you are affected by it, I think, like we were affected. And I remember when I was 13 years old, when I had aunt that was killed, same thing by a van that was making a U-turn and just took her life. Never in my wildest dreams that I was going to lose my daughter to a traffic crash. You know, like as I was only 14, it affected me, but still I kept going on with my life, you know? And it was until I was affected so directly by losing my daughter is when I really started doing something. So I really commend you for what you're doing.
I mean,
amazing.
thank you, but I would throw that right back because I mean we work with people like Jerry, Debbie, Dee Dee. These are people we work with through our SoCal Families for Safe Streets, and it is not easy to constantly tell your story, to constantly talk about your daughter, about your niece.
Yeah.
And to revisit trauma to educate others, to revisit history to teach others in itself, I think is a pretty brave act. And so I commend you all for doing the same thing too. And I learn from your trauma. I grow from your stories. So definitely, I think it goes both ways. But thank
And I
you.
feel at the same time we have fun, right?
Yeah,
That's
we do.
crazy. And that's what I would say. There's a lot of pain, love, and hope.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think we grieve together too. That's one of the things
Exactly.
that I think this type of work helps with the grieving process. I think everybody grieves different, right? And I think the work that you're doing, and meeting these different people and bringing us all together, it's a way of grieving. You get to talk to other people that have been through something that you've been through, something tragic.
Yeah.
And it's hard to talk to other people about our tragic losses. You don't want to bring down other people, but we love talking about Valentina and
talk
Bethany.
forever.
We can
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
about our girls all day long. It brings joy to us.
Yeah.
But speaking of our girls, let's talk a little bit about John.
Yes.
What
Yes,
about you
good to
growing
know,
up?
John.
Tell us some stuff
Yes.
about yourself
Yeah.
growing up. How did, what was your life like growing up?
Yeah.
I was born in California. I was born in Los Angeles, right here. I grew from immigrant parents. My parents came to the U.S. from South Korea in the late 70s. And it was a typical immigrant story. My mom and dad opened up a flower shop, and that's how they raised us. It was through flowers. That's what got me through college and got me through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
Amazing.
roses. It's funny enough.
That is really awesome.
Yeah.
Where did you go to?
I went to the University of Michigan for my undergrad.
Okay.
So yeah, I lived in LA. Then the earthquake happened in '93, I think. And then afterwards, my parents decided to move to the East Coast. So I'm bi-coastal. I lived in New Jersey for a good chunk of my life, and then I was born and raised in LA. But I went to college in Michigan.
Okay.
So I got my undergrad degree there. Then I moved to DC, worked there for a couple of years. Actually, I worked for the Tourette Syndrome Association. That was my first job.
Oh, okay.
So definitely working on health and public health issues. As we all know, safe streets is a public health issue. Has been something I really began my career with from the start.
Okay.
So then I went to grad school at Georgetown, and then afterwards I moved to LA.
How do you like it over here?
Oh, I love LA. LA's home for me. I mean,
Yeah.
I think what I love about LA is that it's the first place I consider a home, and I think when you consider a place a home, the streets become your home. The neighborhood becomes your neighborhood. Your neighbors become your family, and I feel like I never really had that kind of connection that much in other places that I've lived in. And coming to LA, coming to Koreatown, a lot of my family's there too, it became a lot easier to really take ownership of your community and say, this is my community. And so for me, again, going back to safe streets, I think it was in K-Town when I got hit by a car when I was biking.
Okay.
So for me, I begin to look, and after that happened, I begin to look at Koreatown differently. Why is it that K-Town has so many wide streets? Why is it that K-Town's used to be for commuter traffic, right? Why isn't it based for the community? Why isn't it for the people who live there, not for people going east, west, west, east? So yeah, so I love LA, and it's really helped me to really understand what community means, not just in a metaphorical sense, but in a physical street sense too.
I've seen that when you travel, though, and I've seen, because I follow you as well
Yeah.
on social media, and I see that when you travel, you're always doing like some kind of video about the streets. So it became like your interest as well. Like, how is the infrastructure of this street in this place? When you went to Mexico, and different places.
Yeah,
That's so awesome.
Ciclovia, they have that in Mexico.
And now you see that, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's funny, what gets your attention from
It's just interesting how different cities really build their streets differently, and it's a reflection of that city, that community's priorities, those
Yeah.
investments.
That's so true.
Right, and so if you look at the streets in Los Angeles, it's clear what our priority is, usually for car movement, for fast traffic, for commercial movement. But one thing that really fascinated me in Mexico City is they have bus lanes
Okay.
that go on both sides, and it can be ridden not only by the buses, but people on bikes can use them.
Yeah.
People on scooter can use them, and so it's like this really amazing space the dynamic space we don't really have in Los Angeles, and so I always admired about that.
Where are you at today? What
Yeah.
are you doing
Yeah.
now? What are you doing today?
So today I wear two hats most of the time. I am the executive director for Los Angeles Walks. We are LA's pedestrian advocacy nonprofit, and what we primarily do is we partner with communities, groups like yourselves, with Street Racing Kills, to really get safe street infrastructure in our communities. Really basic stuff like flat sidewalks, curb ramps, speed humps, things that are really make communities safer and more community-centric, are incredibly difficult to get here in Los Angeles.
Yes.
We just have a really
I've seen
bureaucratic
that.
system.
I don't think we ever thought about this, but John, you actually connected to Lili and myself. As you know.
Did I?
Yes, you did.
No.
You sent me an email saying, Lili, this is up your alley, street racing. You want to go to attend the town hall meeting?
So my niece was killed on May 11th, 2019. The families that lived actually witnessed the crash. Were fed up with the reckless driving that occurred in that intersection. And so they formed this town hall meeting, and they invited our family to speak at this town hall meeting. It was only a week after she had passed, and her crash was a hit and run, so there was a lot of anger, and we wanted to blame somebody, I guess you can say, or we wanted to lash out.
Yeah.
And we were very upset about how many crashes had occurred in that same intersection. So we wanted to speak our minds. So we show up to this town hall meeting, and Lili's there. And she has her street racing kill signs, and she's, very vocal.
But you're the one that told me to go there, which is funny. You told me, Lili, it's up your alley, have a street racing. You want to go? And I'm like, hey, I had already seen the crash, so it's because of you that we got connected. Just
So thank you. I have to say thank you.
Oh, well, no, I mean, I just shot an email, but yes, thank you. You're welcome. No, I'm sure that connection would have happened regardless, I feel, but I'm honored to have facilitated it.
I remember I grabbed all my stuff at the time, I have a little cart and put my little signs, and by the time my turn came to speak, I was not very nice. I was trying to be nice at the beginning. I was patient to wait for my turn, but my turn came later. So and I was like, why don't we have signs on this? And I was like, oh, and then I saw her, so it was pretty cool. But no, thank you so much for that connection.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know that you actually connected us.
But it goes to show, there are a lot of us out there. This is not a small issue. We lose an Angelino every 28 hours in Los Angeles from car crashes, right? The biggest killer of our elementary, middle school kids are car crashes. Oftentimes people think a car crash happens and the victim is the person in the car, but it is a ripple effect. The family, the neighbors, the colleagues, people who live in that intersection constantly that see it. And so I think this is far more impactful and far more sort of invasive in a way than I think we normally give it credit for.
Yeah, what impacts me the most is I see all these victims and I hear so much about all different kinds of crashes and how everybody's impacted by it. And to me, it's like when we're sharing the gruesome details, and they'll tell you, they'll tell me, and it's so odd because we bond with that. Mm-hmm. Then I want to share my gruesome details too. And it's not just venting, they just want to let it all out, those details, like when Lori was talking about doing the makeup for her niece for her funeral instead of for her wedding. And then I share, oh my God, when they call me and if I wanted to donate my daughter's corneas. I mean, there's just these things that are so gruesome, but we share it and we're all victims, right? And I also admire the survivors, that they're also out there doing so many stuff. And I feel like you're a big part of all this movement that's going around. So I want to know now, though, what do you think? To ask him the main question.
Yeah, actually, I think now we had a conversation with you, John, earlier about what are you doing today to do more?
Yeah, so in addition to being an executive director of a nonprofit, I am also running for political office. Yes, thank you.
Yes.
I'm running for the California State Assembly, District 54.
Awesome.
It covers, just for your viewers, it covers Koreatown, downtown Boyle Heights, Chinatown, Commerce, and Montebello.
That's awesome.
That's so great.
It's an incredibly diverse district. A little bit about the district, actually. It's one of the highest rates of transit riders. So again, people who are non-car reliant, essentially. And I think on a county level, I think it's about 2% of the population uses public transit. In our district, it's 25%. So it's way above the county average. And so definitely it's a community that has a lot of unsafe streets. I mean, the Boyle Heights K-Town is a great example of two communities that are incredibly dense, incredibly diverse, but yet have some of the most fast traffic streets and some disinvested infrastructure. And so definitely is something that I really hope to bring as I run my campaign and hopefully one day when I get into office.
Yes. That's so awesome. I love it. No, I really love it. When I heard about it, I was like, oh my God, this is great.
Thank you.
Great. I can't wait to see the progress with your campaign, everything that you're going to be doing. I mean, you have now get to do all the meet and greets and all the stuff that you have planned to do, I imagine.
Yeah. I mean, so definitely my step right now, just to be frank, it's all about money. That's how campaigns are. Just be really honest.
I heard about that, yes.
It's an expensive thing. The way the current system is set up, it is a very expensive thing to run for office. So right now I'm just furiously fundraising. And so thank you for your support. I know you're going to be hosting an event for me. You're helping me network. So both of you, I appreciate your help.
Definitely. Well, you're in my backyard.
Yes,
That's one of the things I think we learned about each other as we sat having this interview is, you know, I live in the city of Pico Rivera. My kids go to school in the city of Commerce. They play for, my daughter's on the volleyball team for the travel team for the city of Commerce for Crush. My son plays basketball and he goes to school in the city of Commerce. So, you know, it's important that we have people in office that truly care about our children, that care about our communities, that care about the families that live in these communities. Montebello is my back door, next door. You know, my dad's a council member. Well, my dad's the mayor for the city of Commerce. So to me, it's very important what you're doing. I understand how it could be life-changing. You being in a position to help make better laws, improve our streets, improve our transportation system. You are helping make the streets safer for our children and for our communities.
Thank you.
And I applaud you for doing that and for taking this position. It's not easy running for a position.
Yeah, you have a long road ahead of you, but I think you have a lot of support that all of us that love you so much, and we're excited.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us today. It's good to know you a lot better and this new chapter in your life that you're heading through. We're here to support you. We're so happy. Again, thank you, John.
Appreciate it.
And for all of you guys that are watching us today, if you want to support us and get to know us a little bit more, please follow us and just check out streetracingkills.org.
And to watch more episodes of Before and After, make sure you subscribe. Bye, everyone.
Bye, John.